They said the church on the hill was abandoned, but honestly, that was only half the story. Sure, its roof sagged in places, and the stained glass windows were shattered into colorful shards that sparkled like broken dreams, but it was more than just a run-down building. The bell tower leaned like a broken neck, and the path leading up to it was completely overgrown with weeds, twisting around gravestones that seemed to lean as if they were trying to crawl out of the earth. It was eerie, you know? No one in town dared to go there anymore. They hurried past the base of the hill, eyes down, muttering prayers, even though most had long stopped believing in God. Yet, those old stories hung around like smoke, lingering in the air. People whispered about how the priest had lost his mind, claiming that during one final midnight mass, he locked the congregation inside and burned so much incense that the air turned thick and suffocating. Knees that the smoke stole the breath from every throat. But when the fire brigade forced the doors open, there were no bodies. The pews were empty, the altar bare, and the crypt beneath was clean, as though no one had ever stepped inside. The priest was gone too. Dozens of people vanished, erased as though swallowed whole by stone. The records ended there, but the silence that followed carried its own rumors. The sound of chanting heard at night, the tolling of a bell, though the tower's ropes had long rotted away, shadows moving behind stained glass where no light burned, and always the warning whispered by the old. The church did not die at Waits. Marcus never believed in any of it. He was a rational man. Practical, bored of his small town and its old ghosts, but when the dreams began, they unraveled his certainty thread by thread. First it was whispers. Latin phrases he could not understand, but could recite upon waking, carved into his memory like stone. Then came the faces pale and pressed against walls of black stone mouths opening in silent screams, and finally the sound of a bell tolling once, twice, and then echoing until it seemed to shake his bones awake. He would rise from sleep trembling, his throat raw as though he had been shouting all night, his knees aching as though he had knelt on cold stone. He told himself it was stress, some trick of the mind, but when he woke with dirt under his nails and the taste of ash on his tongue, denial crumbled. Something was pulling him. On the seventh night, he didn't fight it. The dreams left him standing at the foot of the hill under a sky heavy with black clouds. The weeds clawed at his legs as he climbed. The wind stung with the smell of smoke, though no fire burned. The church loomed above him, a jagged silhouette against the moon, its doors yawning wide. No one had oiled those hinges for centuries, but they swung open without a sound, as though welcoming him. Inside, moonlight spilled through broken glass, painting the floor in shards of color. The air was thick with cold damp, yet beneath it he smelled incense, sweet and suffocating. His footsteps echoed as he walked the aisle, pews groaning faintly as though shifting under invisible weight. He reached the altar, and that was when he heard it, a low hum vibrating up through the stone. It wasn't sound exactly. It was inside him, crawling in his teeth, his ribs, his marrow, a chant without words, steady and endless. He found the steps behind the altar leading down. The deeper he went, the colder it became, until each breath steamed like smoke. The iron gate to the crypt hung broken, and beyond it stretched stone walls glistening with damp, empty at first. Then he saw them, not bodies, not bones, faces. Dozens, maybe hundreds, pressed into the stone itself. Eyes hollow, mouths open in eternal screams. The walls weren't carved, they were impressions, as though flesh had been forced into stone, as though the walls were swallowing something that still struggled to breathe. He touched the nearest one, his fingers trembling, and recoiled instantly. The stone was warm. It pulsed faintly like skin stretched over a beating heart. His stomach lurched. He stumbled backward, and the floor cracked beneath his foot, collapsing into blackness. He fell hard, pain flaring in his shoulder. But the pain vanished the moment he saw what waited below. The pews, dozens of them, full, not with living people, but with things that had once been human. Their skin was the gray of ash, their hair long gone, their faces hollowed. They sat perfectly still, mouths moving in unison, chanting words Marcus couldn't understand but felt deep in his bones. Their eyes were gone. sockets oozing black ichor that dripped down their cheeks and onto the stone floor. At the far end behind the altar stood the priest, or what was left of him. His robes hung in tatters, his skin pale as parchment, his lips stretched into a smile that hadn't moved in centuries. He raised his arms and the congregation fell silent. We waited, he croaked, his voice echoing like iron dragged across stone, his gaze fixed on Marcus. We waited for you. Marcus tried to run. The stairs were gone. The opening had sealed behind him, stone knitting closed as though it had never been broken. His breath came in panicked gasps, his chest tight, his legs heavy. The priest stepped down from the altar, each movement a crack of old bone. One voice cannot hold the hymn, he rasped. One soul cannot bear the weight. But many, he gestured to the pews. The congregation's mouths opened wider, splitting until their jaws cracked. Black ichor sprang. The chant began again, louder this time, 1,000 voices crawling through Marcus's skull. He screamed, but no sound came. His body convulsed as the chant burrowed into him, forcing his mouth open, dragging his lungs into their rhythm. A sound poured out, not his voice, not his scream, but the hymn, ancient and endless. The priest's smile widened. Sing. Marcus tried to resist, but his body betrayed him, his tongue bled, his throat tore, and still the hymn roared out of him, every word burning his lungs. The congregation shook their bodies, writhing, their jaws splitting wider, until their faces tore open into gaping voids. The walls swelled, the trapped faces pushing outward, stone cracking as black smoke bled through. The hymn grew so loud it became a physical thing, rattling the earth, shaking dust from the ceiling, threatening to tear the church apart. And then the smoke surged, wrapping Marcus like chains, dragging itself into his mouth, his ears, his eyes. He felt his body splitting, unraveling, his voice joining theirs, his soul shredded into notes of the hymn. He the wind rustling through the trees, not the bell that's long fallen silent, but a chant that resonates deep within you, steady and low, pulling at your chest like a heavy weight. If you linger there too long, you'll catch the newest voice among them, faint and fragile, yet desperately screaming for freedom. That's Marcus, still trapped in that haunting melody, still reaching out for help. And if you hear him, it means the hymn has already found you, wrapping around you like a chilling embrace, pulling you closer to the darkness. And you, the crypt fell into an eerie silence, save for the faintest echo of Marcus's voice, now woven into the hymn, crying endlessly for freedom. The church grew quiet again, just waiting like a predator lying in wait. They say if you stroll past Alder Hill at night, you might catch a glimpse of it. Enough wind rustling through the trees, not the bell that's long fallen silent, but a chant that resonates deep within you, steady and low, pulling at your chest like a heavy weight. If you linger there too long, you'll catch the newest voice among them, faint and fragile, yet desperately screaming for freedom. That's Marcus, still trapped in that haunting melody, still reaching out for help. And if you hear him, it means the hymn has already found you, wrapping around you like a chilling embrace, pulling you closer to the darkness. NDU.